Hello and welcome. Welcome to my Stitchery Stories page. I'm Susan Wees, and today what I'm going to do is go through some ideas for running a group. Say if you are involved with an arty, crafty group, then here are some ideas about how you can continue to meet virtually during these lockdown periods. So I do have some notes as well to just keep me on track, which is always a bonus, isn't it? So if I look down, that's what I'm doing. I'm looking at my notes. Okay, so you might know me as the host of Stitchery Stories podcast, textile art podcast, embroidery podcast. But I'm wearing another hat today. I've got lots of hats, like lots of us do. And I'm actually the secretary of the Hull and East Riding branch of the Embroiderers Guild. And I'm also on the regional committee as well, the Yorkshire and Humber Region Committee as well for my sins. And I have to say, our March meeting was one of the early casualties of the lockdown when everything was cancelled. So we'd already missed our March. As if I'm sitting straight. We'd already missed our March meeting, and last week our chairman Alison Larkin, who's actually been a guest on Stitchery Stories as well, Alison kind of gave me a prod and said, "Hey, it's our April meeting. We meet on the 4th Saturday of the month. It's our April meeting. Can we do something virtually?" Because she knows that I use a thing called Zoom, which is video conferencing software. So, hey, so can we do something in Zoom to get a meeting? What can we do? So I said, yeah, okay then. And so we did that, and I promoted it. I told our members via email, and I just posted on our Facebook page about it. And then I thought, actually, do you know what? There's lots of other people who I know who are on the committee of Embroiderers Guild, or you may not be part of the Embroiderers Guild, but you run a textile group of some form that you're involved with. And so lots of people I know are struggling with this kind of thing. So that's where I'm looking at, really. After I posted this is what I was doing, I've then had a lot of questions, both in Instagram and here on Facebook as well, asking me, how did it go, what did you do, etc, etc. Hiya Zoe. And so what I decided to do was come on live here and share our experience and give you some ideas of how you could maybe do this yourselves. Right, so what did I do? We organised our meeting via Zoom. We really didn't know how it would work and how it would go, but I have to say it went well. There was 10 of us who connected, and it was a very enjoyable 40 minutes. I'll come back to the 40 minutes thing. Now, it is worth mentioning, first of all, that we are a relatively, I think we were the smallest Embroiderers Guild branch, but we've got 15 now, so maybe we've overtaken some other groups, but it's still it's a small number compared to many of the groups that I know people are part of, which are much larger, which has different challenges, of course. Anyway, so first of all, Zoom. I'm wondering what on earth Zoom is. Zoom is video conferencing software, which has been built really around the needs for business. And I mean, it's something I've used for, I don't know, a few years anyway, almost since it came out in about 2012, 2013, something along those lines. So I've actually organised hundreds of Zoom meetings over my time. My business, I work for myself. I run my own online based business. It's entirely virtual, so I've had clients all over the world. So I've used Zoom for networking, I've used Zoom for working with clients, and now increasingly I've been using Zoom to connect with groups as well and helping people to get on board, bring the groups online, groups of friends. So that's my background. Excuse me, I've got the usual frog in the throat when you start doing anything like this. So so Zoom video conferencing software. There are other things, people talking about like Google Meet, Google Hangouts. There's all sorts of different things, but what I like about Zoom is the fact that you can schedule meetings, so it puts some kind of planning to it, which is what you need when you're working with a group. There are also a lot of controls in there to enable you to manage the meeting safely and professionally as well. So now Zoom, you need to sign up for an account if you are going to use it to host things, and the free account gives you 40 minutes if you have more than 2 people on your Zoom meeting. So that's the constraints around which I was working with my Embroiderers Guild. For my work, I just am okay with the free account, because I don't personally host large groups. So we just used my free account. If you want to have more than 40 minutes and more than 2 people, then you need to start paying a monthly fee. It's about £12 or something. And the beauty about Zoom as well is that it works across devices. So it works on a computer, it works on a laptop, it works on tablets like iPads and Samsung tablets and those kind of things, and it also works on smartphones as well. So most people have got one of those pieces of equipment, and even people who are not very tech savvy invariably now would have at least a smartphone, or tablets are popular because they're so easy and convenient to use. A great way of getting on the internet if you don't really need to do a great deal. So my background, just to quickly fill you in. So lots of you know me as the host of Stitchery Stories, textile art podcast, but I do actually have a 30-year professional career in technology and training, and I say the last 10 years I've been working for myself, and my main role online is now that I teach creative business owners how to use the best online programs and apps and tools to make their business life easier and more profitable. So I do that by creating and selling online courses, plus some one-to-one strategy and advice if people want to go down that line. But most of my work is now involved around creating and selling online courses. Online courses are not new for me. I've been creating them for a long time, and I've also got a history of creating courses and training throughout my technology and training career. So I haven't just gone, ooh, this is something I do. I've just started telling people, but I've been doing it for a long time. And our branch, we are a small branch. There are 15 of us. We got 10 of us connected on Saturday, and we are a mixed range of ages. We have 2 girls who were just recently celebrated their 18th birthday, our young embroiderers, and then we have a range of ages going up to the young at heart. Let's put it that way. So we've got a mix of all ages. Everybody does have email, and most of our members do come and visit our Facebook page, but that's really for outward reaching. It's not really for communication within the group. So we have email. Right, so what did I do? The format that we decided was we would stick with the 40 minutes to keep things simple. And so I sent everybody an email explaining what we were going to do. And I also posted about it on Facebook again, just to catch people both ways. We really, I should have sent the emails out a bit earlier than I did, but it was only Thursday when we decided that, yeah, come on, let's do something, okay? So that's what I did. The beauty about Zoom is you can schedule a meeting and it gives you a link, and then you would send that out via email. Please don't ever publicly share a Zoom link. That can cause problems. There's annoying people on the internet who seem to have nothing else to do but cause problems for everybody else, and they are actively scanning and searching for Zoom links. They all work to a fairly standard format. So I'd sent that privately through the email to our group, And I did actually, so I explained what they had to do, and I did offer to have a practice session as well, like an hour before, because I expected the typical problems are people connect and we can't hear them, we can't see them. Okay, so that usually takes a bit of ironing out with people until they realise which buttons and things they need to press on their device. But no, we didn't. Nobody wanted to do a practice, and everybody did manage to connect. One lady connected, but must have had some problem with her microphone or her camera. So I've followed up with her to find out how I can help her connect in the future. There's a really good feature. It's the waiting room feature, and so everybody then joins, and then are held in a waiting room, just like you would do in real life. And then as the host of the session, then I can see who's waiting, and then you can admit them. You can admit everybody all together, or certainly for the first time, then I found it easy to just admit people one by one so that they got connected and I could focus on helping them, and then we moved on to the next person. So that's a handy thing to be able to do. So that's just like letting one person in at a time. Right, come on, next, in you come. So that does make it easier to manage, that's for certain. So that was some of the nuts and bolts of how I started and organised the meeting. From the perspective of the people who are joining the meeting, then, as I say, it works across all devices, and all they need to do, they don't need to sign up for anything or worry about anything like that. All they need to do is click on a link that they are sent. Now, Zoom will then quickly download a piece of software, and then that runs and enables you to then join the meeting. So that's what happens each once you've used Zoom on your device once, then it doesn't need to keep downloading the software. Okay, so it's very easy to use from that point of view. And so the important thing, though, is that if people are not used to taking part in online meetings, again, when you've got a number of people and people have got different levels of internet speed and stability, so sometimes it can be a bit difficult to hear, or there's a lag, and so people finish up talking over the top of each other. And that takes a while to just get used to being in that environment where you've got to be quite conscious of trying not to leap in like you normally would do, because then everybody kind of talks over the top, becoming more difficult. So what I decided to do was to kind of keep control of the meeting and organise it in the following way. So I then invited Alison, our chair, to kind of just give a quick update if we had anything, what was happening with our regional day, which sadly has been cancelled. So we had a quick update from Alison. And then what I did was then I said to everybody, right, what we did for this first meeting it was like a show and tell, really. So I just wanted to give each person an opportunity to talk about what they've been doing, how they are, and then show us some stitching and some things, creative things that they've been doing. And that was lovely to see. Everybody had been getting on and making things. I didn't once hear that good old excuse, I haven't had any time this month to do anything. So it was lovely that everybody brought their things along. And everybody took it in turns, and we were, chatting and commenting, but it was very much, me kind of saying, right, okay, next person, would you like to, how are you, how so-and-so, how, what work have you been doing? So that's how I managed our meeting on Saturday, and that went well. Everybody really enjoyed connecting and sharing our stuff and having a laugh. Was really enjoyable. So what we're going to do for our next meeting in May is we're going to do it slightly differently. So in advance, we're going to set a challenge. So Alison, our chair, is going to set as a challenge, probably maybe something based around one stitch, something that we can do in a couple of hours. We'll send that out a few days in advance so that people can gather together whatever threads and fabric and stuff that they need to do that. And then our format is going to be like this. Oh dear, excuse me. So what we're going to do is we're going to have two sessions. We're going to have our first 40 minutes where we all have a catch up, how we've all been getting on in the last month, and then Alison will quickly recap the idea of the challenge, and then what we'll do is we'll then all go away for a couple of hours and actually get on and do some stitching according to the challenge. And then I will, so they'll get 2 Zoom links. First one scheduled for say 1:30, and then the second one scheduled for say 4 o'clock or 3:30, something along those lines. So our normal kind of meeting times. So the second session then, so everyone goes and does the stitching and then all comes back on and joins us on Zoom for a kind of a recap. Oh, look, this is what I've done, this is what I enjoyed about it, etc. And give us something else to talk about, and then we'll all go our merry way. So that's what we're thinking about doing for our May group. So it's been very successful for us, and I'm really pleased that I did it. And so I've had quite a few questions from people, so I'll kind of give it a bit of thought. And there's a few things that people have mentioned to me that I just kind of want to give my ideas around doing that. So first of all, I've heard this 2 or 3 times, is that, oh, we've got an older group, we're not sure whether a Zoom meeting would work. Well, but then everyone said, oh, but they all do have email, or most people. So I think there's very few people now in any of our groups who don't have access to an email address. It's very few. So most people have access to an email address, which means therefore that they are using some kind of technology to access and send and manage their email. Many people use their smartphones for that, or their tablets. Okay, and because now, we're in, is it week 5, week 6, I don't know, however long the lockdown's been going on for, then I think whereas previously people were, you would see your grandchildren a bit more, or many people were already living distant from grandchildren and children and sons and daughters, and so we're already starting to get the idea of, oh, I can use my iPad to connect with my daughter. Oh, yeah, I can use my phone to connect with my grandkids. So, and from what I've seen, that has only increased massively. So given that push of, well, it's either learn how to connect through your phone, or don't see your grandkids, then most people have got over that story in the head that I don't know how all this works. So as already explained, all you need to do to join a Zoom meeting is press that button, expect that a little bit of code is going to download, and then you can join. That's it. It's very simple. So I think maybe this concern of people are older, maybe isn't as limiting as what you would maybe expect. And I would just encourage, just try. Right. A lot of groups are much bigger than ours, and say we had 10. 10 was enough. If you think we've got 40 minutes, if it's free, with 10 people, each person really only has a couple of minutes. So if there was a lot more in the session, then people don't get a chance to shine. They don't get a chance to show what they've been doing or contribute to the meeting in any way. So I would say limit a meeting, a virtual one like this, to 10. However, it depends what you're going to do. So, for example, I know a lot of groups would get somebody in to speak. Yeah, so you're all sitting there, you have your kind of business meeting at the start, and then the speaker comes and speaks. You could still do that. It's not as interactive for the people, but that could still be something that you could do and have it like we call it a webinar format, so somebody can do a presentation. So they could do that via Zoom, and everybody could just kind of quietly listen. Submit questions, you can type in questions, so somebody could monitor the chat and answer the questions that way. That's always an option. There's a feature, okay, maybe carried away now, but there's a feature called Breakout Rooms within Zoom as well included, in which you can then divide everybody up into smaller groups. So if you had a group of 40, you can split them up into, say, 4 separate rooms of 10, just like you could do in real life. Right, we've done this thing, right, now off you all go into the separate rooms, and then people could chat within their little group of 10. They can interact with each other. Now, most groups, there is kind of like naturally forming little groups of friends happen anyway. So that could be a way forward as well. Or what you could just do is have a series of smaller meetings of 10. So if you've got a group of, if you've got a group of 50, then, you maybe want to organise 5 separate meetings of 10, or, if not everybody wants to do it, you might just have 4 separate meetings of 10. So therefore that means that one person maybe hosts a Zoom meeting 4 times. So one person, kind of maybe already knows how to do this, or is willing to learn. And then they just host, 4 lots of short meetings. Or you get more volunteers. You don't know who you've got in your group in terms of what other skills people have been picking up over the last few weeks as well. So you could do it that. So either have one larger group or have a number of smaller meetings. The main thing I would advise is, as the host of the group, is that you have a strong plan for managing your meeting. So for ours on Saturday, I said, right, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to ask each of you in turn to share what you've been doing. I did keep iterating that we only had a few minutes each, but I probably needed to be a bit stronger on time management, because as ever with these things, the people who spoke first got plenty of time, and the people at the end got like a quick, hurry up and tell us, you've got a minute. So you need a strong plan for managing your meeting. What was the other thing I was going to say? Right. So now the question is, if you're going to go down this or try and investigate this idea, how do you learn what to do? Now, say our branch is fortunate in the fact that I already know what to do because I've been doing this for a long time, and I also, teach people how to do this. Now, a month or so ago, I actually did launch a online course on how to use Zoom to get online, how to use Zoom to run groups and run workshops and so forth without having to leave your house. So that would also be an option. That's not why I'm doing this today, but if I don't want people sitting there going, oh yeah, I'd really like to do it, I don't know how to use Zoom. Well, I do have an option here for you. So if you are interested if you want to find more details about my course that I've created, then say that's £49. Now, from the perspective of your groups, what you're not doing at the moment is paying for room hire, and if you want a group where you have a lot of speakers, then they'll have been cancelled as well. So you're not paying for workshop people to come along, so you're not paying for that. So it may be that even just for the next few months you decide as a group to keep some level of connectivity going between your group, that it's worth investing in the next level, to the paid level, so you don't have the limit of 40 minutes, and invest in 1 or 2 people learning how to do this, then you're probably actually still quids in compared to paying for the room hire of a large hall and paying for a speaker to come. But that's just something to think about. I could put together a checklist or something, so if you to help you kind of manage this regardless. So if you think that a checklist would be helpful for you, then please again just write in the comments, yes, I'd love a checklist please, Susan, and I will sort something out. If you've got questions about this, then again please ask them in the comments, because somebody else will probably have exactly the same questions as you. So there's questions there, and as I say, if you are interested in learning the skills to run these meetings, then I do have that online course for £49. I will say one thing about Zoom is it is relatively straightforward to set up, and many people just manage to kind of blunder through it and set it up. The issues where people struggle is the ones about all the settings in the background which help you control the meeting to make it kind of safe and a pleasurable experience for everybody. So you may have seen some kind of scare stories in the news about, oh, Zoom this and it's not secure and blah blah. Most of the problems that people have had is because although they'd managed to set a meeting up okay, what they didn't understand, because they just didn't know, is that there's a load of settings that they could have changed to stop, which would have stopped all of those problems. They say I've run Zoom meetings for many years, never had any problems whatsoever. But there again, I knew what things needed to be set and why. So I really hope that this has at least sowed some seeds of encouragement and excitement that yes, you can keep in contact with your group members, whether it's an Embroiderers Guild group or some kind of arty crafty informal group, or a textile artist group that you're all maybe exhibiting together, or whatever it is. Then there are options here to help you meet. It's not going to be exactly the same as sitting in the local hall and digging out all your stuff, is it? And having tea and cake like we do. But it certainly helped us all connect back in together. It encourages us all to keep on stitching, and everyone was excited about the fact that we are going to have a meeting in May, and it's going to be different. It's a different experience, and I think that's what we're all kind of getting used to at the moment as well, isn't it? That just because things are different, it doesn't mean to say that everything's all doom and gloom. So I'll leave it there. I hope this has been helpful for you. As I say, any questions, then please just drop me a question in the comments. If you think that a checklist that would kind of go through the things like what I did to set this up, if you think a checklist would be handy, then again, let me know in the comments. And if you want details about my course, then again, just ask me in the comments there. So I'll leave you to it. The sun's come out now and it's a lovely blue sky, so I think I'll go out and go and stretch my legs around the garden and then crack on with the rest of my meetings for today. I'm going to be zoomed out today. My last one is tonight at 9 o'clock with some people in Canada. So there we are. Have a lovely day, enjoy your stitching, and please ask me any questions that you want. Bye for now. Cheers. I can never find the off button when I'm doing this now. Do you want me to end this live video? I can't see.